We have a couple of announcements, obviously, or not obviously, but many of you may have heard that we got the close order by the governor earlier today. So we're just glad to be here together no matter what at this point. So thank you all for coming. So we are going to be open by appointment. So you can go to our website. There's a button you can click, or if your friends want to come by or people are coming in town, wonder what to do, they can make an appointment. Typically, people make an appointment the day before, or early in the morning. We need an hour or so to respond to make sure that we can have someone here. But we've been very successful. People enjoy it. It's a nice little experience. So that's that. So you just go to our homepage. There's a little link at the bottom. It says book a private viewing or something, I think it's called. We have a couple of artists here. I don't know who knows who, but introduce yourself, artists. Oh, sorry, I'm Warren, sorry. Introduce yourself.
I'm Lorinda. Hi.
I'm Barry. I'm Ilsa.
I'm Nina.
And nice to meet you, Michael and Jennifer. I think you look familiar, Jennifer. So we made like a little, like I said, everyone just hung the show about 48 hours ago, but we did make a little walkthrough of the show. Wonderful. So I am going to cue that up.
If you have questions or comments, show them where the chat is.
Oh.
It's down in the center.
There's a little chat. You can chat. It depends on your computer, but there is a chat button. I don't know if you guys are familiar. If you want to send them a message, Vivo Contemporary, I'll show you real quick. That's our moderator, kinda. I'll show you the control room. This is the control room with our moderator. So when I say, oh, cue video and cue picture, that's what we're doing. So are we?
If they chat, they'll be chatting with me.
Yeah, if you chat, you'll be chatting with Vivo, which is Lisa, my wife. So do you want to cue the video?
It's ready to go.
So go for it. So here's a little walkthrough. Door is closed and locked because we don't have masks here. It's just two people that are married that live together. So here's kind of how you'd walk in through the front door. Typically, people go to the left. Beautiful Ilsa's. I love these collections she's just created. There's one of Barry's pieces, another one of Barry's. We have a slideshow outside at night, so we frosted the window for that. These are Norma Alonso brand new pieces. These are fairly large pieces. There's a ever popular Gary Oakley. You really got to see him in person. It's a 3D experience. I love that piece that just passed, Ilsa's Construction. Here's a close-up of Gary's. This is a brand new one because I don't even have this in our computer. That's one of Ilsa's beautiful constructions. I don't know if you're familiar with one of our new artists, Tracy, but here's a close-up because the video didn't show the work that well. I love these two new pieces of hers. It's Let's Dance and Alchemy are the names. Here's on the back wall, we have some Ann lasers. Yeah. Those are tea bags. As some of you may know, there's another Barry Brown. Here's Lorinda. I don't know if you've met Lorinda, but there was a quick, like I said, I had a little bit of trouble getting every single square inch. Here's some more Tracy, smaller pieces that I really like a lot. And this is beautiful. Oh my gosh, I love this new piece by Nina Glazer. That's a piece that she's had for a couple of months, but that first one was a brand new piece. I love this one too. We're going to talk to Nina a little bit. There's one of my paintings. That's what I do. It's a little bit of departure. Most people know me for overheads of people walking. And there's a couple of small pieces. There's Ilsa hanging the show. Here's another Alonso I love very much. Very saturated. Oh, and that's a good view of Ilsa's piece. I love this. Oh my goodness. So clean. And then here's the postcard. And that will end this is the postcard we made for the show. As you can see, it's a virtual reception, unfortunately, but we'll be back at someday. I want to talk to Nina first. I didn't really get the best video of yours, so I'm gonna go back around. And this new work, I guess what, Nina, maybe you've been working on this collection maybe 3 or 4 months. My goodness, I am so in love with these.
Thank you.
So do you want to talk about this one? I'm gonna put this one. In fact, do you want to give me the JPEG? Hold on a second, I'm gonna talk to tech for a second. Because there's a couple of things about this one that I want to ask Nina, because it's still different. I mean, your work is really evolving a lot, Nina, in a good way. It's the next one. Oh, I mean, I guess let's talk about this one. Are you in? Can you hear me, Nina?
Yeah, well, this one, I did it in the beginning of the pandemic, and it's called Social Convergence, which is the opposite of what we've been told we should be doing. And it's what we all miss doing, like touching each other and being intimate with each other. And I made the background in a bit like a religious symbol, like the Virgin of Guadalupe, like a holy symbol. So that's what that piece means to me.
Yeah, people have commented to me that it looks like a heart or a stained glass or like a religious symbol, or even the the like Sacred Heart of Jesus symbol or whatever it's called. I want to look at the new one though. I really love this one. Your stuff is getting kind of more directed and more, I don't know, pure shaped. I think a couple years ago, it was more about direction and angles and stuff, and now it's really about the organic to the geometric. Oh, here's the other one that I love too. Because in this one, Nina, the palette's a little more muted than what I'm used to.
Yeah, I call this one Delilah, because the woman is the one who's in control. She's holding the man's head. No body. He has short hair. I like surrealism, so I like to tell a story and leave room. And I started using, instead of grout on part of them, and sometimes on all of them, I'm using polyurethane, which adds a nice yellowish tint. So
I love that. I love the new grout treatment. It's very modern, but it harkens back to, like a classic, oil painting kind of look. People that don't know, I mean, this is all hand cut. We don't have a close-up of Nina's fingers, but she sacrifices for the cause. And Nina said to me one time, about a year ago, she said the only way, I'm probably misquoting, but it was basically to this effect, the only way I can understand or relate to form is with glass, is by cutting glass. I can't, paint doesn't really talk to me, collage doesn't talk to me, but for some reason, I just go crazy with glass making form. I mean, and you can see it. I mean, these are really form heavy, very aesthetic, very, sort of educated looking. The shape relationships are very studied. You couldn't move an element without ruining the piece. That's always a big, indicator for me. What do you think, Nina? What do you think about this new one?
Well, I like the intensity of it. I thought it might be a little too much for the gallery, but it's a photo that I love. And I used to paint the models. I used to cover them with paint because I wanted them to look like statues. I wanted them to look timeless, like not of a certain time or culture, but just the human experience, human interaction.
And you've worked in, I mean, I know a lot about Nina because I've talked to her and listened to her for years, but you've worked a lot in like big industrial spaces to set these setups up to create these images, right?
Yeah, I used to trespass into abandoned factories in the Bay Area. But the area, the Bay Area was so economically viable at the time that they would tear them down and build something new. So I started working outdoors as well. This was done in a bunker up in the headlands. So it was an empty building, and I would paint them white. And then when I would expose them, I would, in the darkroom, I would bring them down to flesh color so the background would disappear. So you couldn't see the
Ah. Okay. I was wondering how they look so eerie. I've seen a lot of people react to your work that seem, like you said, this piece seemed a little bit too confrontational, but it's so beautiful the way you've created it with the cut glass. It sets people at ease. It's weird. Like they're shocked by it, but then they're put at ease by all the beautiful texture and color in the piece. It really kind of offsets the confrontational aspect, which I think is really neat and gives it this really dynamic quality.
But I've always been really interested in the fine line between opposites, like passion and violence, death and life, good and bad. So this one is a bit like that too. He's decapitated, but there's this passionate kiss happening.
But you could look at it like if this was a normal situation, if this was a photo of a decapitated head with the woman kissing it, I could look at it for like maybe a second. I'd want to turn away, but I can just stare at this for hours. So beautiful. I mean, it's just, okay, I don't want to keep gushing, but it's amazing. I mean, you literally, if you moved a centimeter of one of the images, pieces of imagery away or to the side, it would ruin the piece. It's so tightly designed. It's really amazing. Well done.
Well, the way I worked in photography is I would sketch before I went out. And I always believed that I should only take one photo of an idea and then move on. Because
Oh my.
in Chinese studios and portrait studios, I was told they only take one portrait because if it's not perfect, why take it? And if it's perfect, why repeat it? So every little detail, every finger, every hair had to be just right. And then I'd move on to the next one. And I'd come home with so many images out of one roll of film, because I think a lot of photographers will shoot, 100, 200 images. And by the law of average, you'll get a few good pieces. But if you focus on each one and make it perfect, then you come home with a roll of excellent photos. So that's how I used to work.
Wow. Well, it shows that attention to detail definitely shows through in the finished piece. No question. Yeah. Well, is there anything you want to add? We're going to let you go. We're going to let you off the hook, Nina.
Okay.
But thank you. And, just so our audience knows, I don't know if you guys are on our mailing list or whatever, but we're doing a special kind of editorial feature on Nina's work in a couple of weeks. So if you're on our mailing list, you will receive that. If you're not, you can go to the website and sign up. So I'm excited about that because I have a pretty good bit of understanding of Nina's work, and she's given me a lot of extra information. We're going to put that all together in a neat little editorial. Should be fun. And we can switch out of the view of the painting.
I think Gary Oakley is here. One of his collectors is wanting to say hi, but he's not in the chat.
Oh, okay. I can't see if Gary's here. Oh, there. Hey.
Hey, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's see. Let me just try to get to where I can be a little more presentable.
Michael and Jennifer are there. They're his masters.
We have some collectors of yours, Michael and Jennifer, wanted to say hello.
Oh, nice.
I was gonna see. I don't. This is a brand new piece, right, Gary?
It is. Yeah.
I don't have that one in my inventory of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just hung it a couple days ago, and it was kind of a kind of a last minute decision. We were trying to decide what would work in that space. And this one seems to work pretty well.
Yeah, it works very well. I like it very much. We're gonna play the walkthrough again for you guys. This is Norma's new pieces. Here's some beautiful Barry Brown, kiln glass. This is all glass. There's no paint involved in the kiln glass. I love Ilsa's new kind of collection. I hope someone buys all of them. I hate to see that split up. It's really a neat, just the pieces together look great. Of course, Norma's piece, she will not be here tonight. She's getting a lot of play. There's Gary's new piece. Ilsa's piece. You really, you ride that edge of realistic landscape and abstract painting. I love it. You're right on the perfect edge of that.
Thank you.
Tracy, I like your new pieces too.
Thanks, Warren.
Yeah, look at that. You got to see these. I mean, the little JPEG doesn't really do it. There's a lot of close-up detail. Anne's tea bag pieces. I don't know who knows Anne here, but these are all tea bags that have been collected from people all over the world. It's really a cool project. Here's Lorinda's piece, which we'll talk to her because I don't have very good footage of her stuff. And there's Tracy's. I love these little pieces, Tracy. Do these incorporate wax too?
Yeah, that's oil and cold wax, many layers.
Okay. And then Nina's piece, which just drives me nuts, both of them. So my pieces. It's kind of a large one. This is one of the last days of summer. I got that. There's Ilsa doing the final touch up on the hanging. This is one of Norma's new pieces. She's been using black in a good way. There's Ilsa, a close-up of one of Ilsa's pieces that's in that collection. This one's called Finer Things. And there is the postcard. So while we have you in the queue, Gary, let's talk about this new piece. Is it like brand new?
Yeah, it's still probably a little. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So anyhow, we probably need to touch up the wall after that one's hanging there. So, it's just, I was thinking kind of I was thinking some yellows and, yellows and purples, and I wanted to kind of keep the sky kind of simple. I like the gradation of the sky on that one, how it kind of, things just look so unreal in New Mexico. I figure, why try to make them look real, because they're just unreal. So I think that's where some of that abstract / representational combination comes from. I try to keep it loose. I listen to music while I paint, and I try to keep it kind of a little surreal in some ways. This one has kind of a little path that kind of leads you in, which sometimes I put in my paintings. This one happens to be kind of a copper type path, and it feels like a place where you would explore. I think I called this one exploration because it kind of feels like it leads you somewhere interesting back in there. And I kind of like that, the mystery of what's, you're out in some wild parts of the West, and you're not sure where those trails or roads are going to lead you. And we're lucky to have public land that we can go out on and do exploration. So this one's kind of in honor of that. We're one of the only countries in the world that has public land that you can just go out on besides just city parks. And that was something that some of the early, Teddy Roosevelt and John Muir and some of those folks recognized. So we're really blessed with that. So, I'm hoping that my pieces inspire people. And one of the inspirations is to keep public land in public hands. So.
Amen. I can attest to that people that come in the gallery, everybody reacts positively to your work. It's doing what you want. It's spreading the love. The joy you have in northern New Mexico comes out in the mark making. I mean, it literally comes out in the marks. You can see the freedom, you can see the happiness. You're communicating exactly, no distortion. And it works on people. People love your work. Even if they don't like your work, like they came into the gallery to get something else, they can't help but notice your paintings. And I think so you're doing it. You're a positive force, my brother. And,
well, thank you. Yeah, sometimes I just do color studies, which are nice too. Just keep it really simple and boil it down to just those simple ingredients, which I was doing for quite a while. And sometimes I still do those. I think there's a couple hanging up in there.
Yeah.
And like that one, for instance.
This one is cool.
Or this one, which doesn't, it's got a little representation, but it's not real literal. So sometimes I try to keep it kind of a little more mysterious and not have too much of a literal representation to it. And people are drawn to both. I mean, sometimes people have a real contemporary house and they find that some of the just color studies like that are what they're interested in. Other times they want more landscapey. Sometimes it's in between. So this one I would kind of consider in between. It really feels like some kind of a sky or something, maybe some land and some water. But if you turn to the one that's behind you there, this one back here is pretty much just colors. There's not, people see things in there, but there isn't nearly the representational component that there is in some of the other ones. So it helps me to diversify and I kind of go in phases. But some people who have real contemporary houses like this look a little more than something that's a little more representational.
Yeah, I mean, Gary's work, I often tell people, it offers kind of both worlds. You get the design and kind of intelligence behind an abstract painting, but you also have this emotional, touchy-feely elements from it being, the elements of reference to mountains and water and plains and paths. These things capture your imagination. They give you something like that path to wander down. There's a term that I hear a lot about, zombie formalism or mindless abstraction. And, none of you won't find that at Vivo. All of the abstract painting that we have here, there's a lot of emotion that comes through. So it doesn't leave you cold. All the abstract paintings are warm and they capture your imagination. They're not just formal exercises. And I'm very happy about that. We choose our artists that way when we're very rigid about who gets to show here and be members and whatnot, as people may know. And the other thing I want to mention, just a little sidebar tidbit, we get a lot of comments about the rectangle, Gary. I explain it a lot.
Yeah,
What's the real?
If you look at that one, for instance, okay, so first of all, I'm thinking just color theory here. I like the way the blue and the kind of rust work together in this. And then I have that neutral sky. I often have a neutral section so the eye doesn't have too many places to go. So it's colors that work together. And even in the landscapes like that exploration one, I'm still thinking the same thing. I'm thinking yellow and purple. And I feel like in a real authentic or realistic landscape, there'd be a lot more colors, but I feel like that gets kind of confusing. I think there's landscapes often have too many colors and it's a little hard to digest. So if I can simplify, even in the landscapes that are representational, if I can simplify it into those elemental or contrasting colors, I think it's a little easier for the viewer to digest. So in this one, the blue and the rust, and then the neutral gray in the top part. And I think if you, so that's what I'm thinking. But then when I started this series, I started putting this dash in there because I felt like compositionally it was just necessary. So that's how I originally started doing it, was just feeling like it needed something in there. And if you put your finger over that and look at the same piece, it's not as interesting without that little dash. So I started doing it because compositionally it seemed necessary. But then I started becoming a kind of a trademark. And now it's like a conversation piece. People can, if they're having a dinner party and this piece is hanging in their dining room, people are going to say, "What's the dash all about?" And I really like that people just engage with art, regardless of whether they like it or not. It's that engagement. So I've had people say everything from literal interpretations to it looks like a dash of light or an adobe or a boat or something. But then I've had a lot of people just see things like a wormhole to another dimension or a coin slot. So I'm not going to tell people what it is. And I actually put a fair amount of thought into what color that dash is. It looks really whimsical, but it takes some thinking to kind of find the right color for that. So some people see it as like the human element in the landscape, or something that gives it some scale. But it's up to you to figure out what you think it is. So I had a woman last year who said, I'd like to buy that painting that has the blue boat in it. And I was like, blue boat. I was just thinking, I didn't know what she was talking about. Well, it was a piece that had a blue dash, and she was from Michigan, and I might be making assumptions, but maybe she was a water person. And so anyhow, I like that people can interpret it as they wish.
That's interesting, because what I tell people, completely different. I tell people that it's the, reminiscent of kind of late 1800s Japanese art, woodblock prints, where they had a signature, but they also the artist had a mark, and it kind of, the mark was kind of the finishing element, and then the signature was extraneous. I always tell people that's kind of your mark that tells you it's done.
Well, and I don't think that's not far off. I mean, it's a multi-purpose dash, and one of them is kind of my trademark. It's composition. It's my trademark. It's in lending itself to interpretation, and so I'm happy to hear what people come up with.
Cool.
But I didn't want it to be, Warren. I didn't want it to be. I didn't want it to be quite so associated with just a trade like the Japanese art. I wanted it to be a little more compositional than that.
Yeah. Well, it works. And thank you for being you.
Thank you you're doing a great job. Thank you for explaining stuff.
Yeah, it's an example, and we'll talk to Lorinda in a second. I moved over so you could see some of her stuff. Gary's work is an example of, it's between abstract and figurative. Figurative meaning objective, not a human figure. And that really, we have a couple of artists that do that here, and it really resonates with people because it has those two elements that people want. Aesthetic, thought of, mathematical, if you would, painting, but also the natural or human element. So Lorinda Stockwell, her paintings are also in the space between abstract and figurative, pretty much exactly on that edge. This is, I think, a brand new piece. Lorinda, correct me if I'm wrong. This is a pretty new piece, or?
Yeah, it is. I did this one and the one in the previous show with the fox. in the woods as a reaction to seeing stories about how animals were coming into people's territories, which I really enjoyed since we took over their space. And in this one, there's a horse that may have escaped and is very happy. But it's just that element of surprise in a landscape of there being almost a camouflaged horse in this particular one, rather than being, well, it could be a Mustang, I guess, but I was thinking of it as being a domestic horse that has gotten away and is kind of gleefully enjoying the forest. And a lot of my work comes from taking walks or hikes in the national forest here around Santa Fe, and how that's a very joyful experience for me that is very emotional and is full of surprise. So I want to convey that as landscape, but also this emotional experience of the environment here.
Yes, your pieces create an environment. I mean, in this piece, I almost, that very farthest area with that blue sky, I want to go there because of the way you've designed this piece. You've got all these elements in front of me, the tree trunk and the horse, but you flattened them out in space to make it a really solid painting. So I want to travel through it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen this time and time again in your work. You are a master at creating space, perspective, overlapping. I mean, you can put a horse in between trees, but then the way you handle the dark light and the hues, you cancel the perspective. You turn it back into a flat, abstract painting. So I see the horse, I see the trees, I understand exactly what's going on, but yet when I look at the whole painting, as I continue to look at it, it just becomes a very abstract piece, and it's completely flat. And that's a good thing from my perspective, from what I've been taught for the last 35 years as an artist. Oh God, it's longer than that. Don't tell anyone.
Me too.
Your work, it has very minimal space. It creates space. You put literal space in the piece, but then you cancel it out with the color and the value. And to me, it works really well. Can we switch to video? I want to just show this other one. So this piece is a new piece. It's called Glowing, I think. And I don't have a JPEG to zoom out, but it's the same thing. You've got foreground branches, but the highest contrast is in that upper left, the kind of blue sky or the blue trees, whatever that is, to the top of the aspen, creates the highest contrast in the painting. Much like if you look at Da Vinci's Last Supper, there's all these people, tables, all this stuff going on, but the highest contrast is behind Jesus. It's the skyline through the windows. So it makes the painting an abstract thing. That's the same thing you're doing here. And you keyed the colors so well in this piece. I mean, it's a little bit distorted from the video, but I mean, the reason why the colors are popping and working so well is that you've been very judicious and sparing with the value differences and the amount of color that you're using. So you've stretched it. It's actually appears a lot more saturated and colorful than the paint application because of what you've done with the juxtaposition of colors. So bravo. I love it.
Yeah, I work
like
really intuitively, though.
Even this, yeah, I mean, I think this stuff out. You're just doing it naturally. You just have that natural ability. Same thing with this, a tree on something else. Look how you've gradated the trunk into the branches. It's almost like it dovetail into the background. It's just, I look at this painting a lot. I mean, it gives me a lot to look at, and it's not a very big painting. Is there anything you want to add?
No, you did a great job. Thank you.
So I want to show where I'm making shaky camera. I want to go over here for a second. I tried to show this piece. This piece, I've been watching it. This was in the last year. I love this piece by Ilsa. It just, I don't know what it does to me, honestly. I don't understand 3D as well as I understand 2D, but it just works. And it has this thing where it's like spiny and hard, but yet it's delicate and beautiful. But that's not the one I want to talk about. I want to talk about these. Do you mind, Ilsa, talking about these?
Fine.
I'm curious, did you think of them all at the same time? Did one lead to the other?
Yeah, one kind of led to another. Like I said, yesterday or day before yesterday, I recently had to move my studio and downsize quite a bit. And packing up, I found boxes and boxes of all these materials that I had collected over the years, and they kind of forgotten. And like I said, when I packed them up and I said, oh my God, I'm going to use these, I love the materials. And because I wasn't ready to embark on anything larger or more three-dimensional right away after the move, I concentrated on these smaller pieces. They're 12 by 12. And as I was looking at the materials, I saw, oh, these are spiny. These are, needles. And then I had a section and a box of, the pieces in the middle that were wing-like, and the other ones, then there's some. Those are actually cicada wings, and
Wow.
some that had horsehair in it and lace, and so I thought, well, these are the finer, the more delicate things. So I thought, well, it just rhymes, I have a series of needles, wings, and finer things. That's how, and I like to work in multiples, so that's how that came about. And yeah, the piece that's on the postcard, the one in the middle, I'm asking everybody, do you know what this is? I'm working with handmade paper, and this is actually not handmade paper, but wasp-made paper. It is I had found years ago, actually, a paper wasp nest, these big oval clumps that hang in the trees. And after I made sure there was nothing alive left in it, I took it apart and peeled one layer after another off it. And that's why these curved, the curved texture in it. They are the layers of the paper that the wasps created out of rotten wood. They eat the rotten wood, they chew them up and spit them out and make their nests, and that's what it is. So these are very delicate, and another one of an example of the finer things, as I called them.
Yeah, people need to buy more of my paintings because I need to get all of these. I mean, this piece that I used on the postcard, it almost looks like it's a photograph of something. Well, it does. On the postcard, you're like, what is that a photograph of? You don't realize.
Of course, I always add my rusty metals, my rusty pieces that I collect while I find, other things. So this series is, I think of them as my environmental pieces, because they all somehow come from nature: the pine needles, the pine cones, the porcupine quills, and the leaves, the cicada wings, the feathers that I'd found on a hike. They're of the woodpecker, the orange flicker, I think it's called, that had, some animal had gotten to it, and there were all these feathers strewn around, and that I picked up because of the gorgeous colors.
I hear you, but I've also heard you say that a lot of times your work is inspired by something you experienced or read on the news?
Yes, absolutely. And most of my other work, there are reactions to an event, to a feeling. And like these pieces, they're, like I said, they're a little bit different. I haven't worked with squares like that on board very long, but I enjoy doing it. And these are, like I said, they're more environmentally inspired, not so much an emotional inspiration.
Okay. Because a lot of your work, I initially think, oh, she found this object on, of this texture and she created the whole art about it. And then I found out later, actually, you were inspired by refugees and
Yes.
you searched for textures and materials that reflected that.
Yes,
So
I
it's
had
interesting.
experience
So you
that.
kind of work both ways, I'm
Thank
hearing.
you. Like the piece you showed before, the three-dimensional piece, that is tunnel vision. As much as they're inspired by an experience, they're telling a story as well.
Yeah. You had a big piece in here. I'm pretty sure you sold it. It was several months ago, but it was pretty large and it had like some curved sticks kind of thing. It was people really gravitated towards that piece. They felt like it was holding them or it was another person. I mean, they really read into, the texture and the shape of it.
The pipe dream.
Yes, the pipe dream. Yeah, people really their imaginations just took off when they saw that. Well, thank you very much, Ilsa.
You're welcome. Thanks.
I appreciate it. I'm going to talk to Anne next. Are you there? There's Anne.
Okay.
So Anne, I'll tell you a few things. For those of you that aren't familiar, a lot of Anne's work, Anne is a master of the grid. Like I was saying, that Lorinda's kind of a master of sort of perspective and manipulating space, meaning, things on top of other things and flattening them. Anne is a master of the grid. I mean, I've seen her early work when she first started out as an artist in her 50s, just so you know. And I saw it quickly evolve to a place where she could tell, like, okay, I have this natural aptitude for working with geometric shapes, but applying organic elements to them. I mean, you are a master of the grid. You really, I don't know whether you studied it or it just speaks to you. But anyway, so tell us a little bit about this piece. I don't have a question, just free form it.
Well, okay, thank you. I'm glad to be the master of something, but I do think now that we're talking about the grid, I think the grid is it says something about me. And since I'm a psychotherapist, I read into it, but I do think it's something about me ordering my life, my sense of needing order. I can color outside the lines and enjoy that too, and experimenting with new materials and new forms. But I go back to because there's something about me, and I'm a Libra too. So, I mean, something about balance is very important. And so I think it informs my art. As far as the organic material, I just stumbled on to how much I love tea bags. I am a tea drinker from childhood. And at one point, I just saw how beautifully they dry. You can see the different colors in this piece, the lower right, bottom English breakfast. It dies, and then there that are more toward the top that are green tea. I guess I just drawn to my own life, and that I drink tea every morning, and that my mother drank tea, and I guess her mother did before her. So there's a real importance about that dynamic, but also the idea of something so inconsequential, something so small, something so disposable can become something bigger than that, something more beautiful. And that's so much what I believe in. As a psychotherapist for all these years, I believe that people are not disposable, and that if given the right circumstances, the right opportunities, the right person in their life, so many things, but it can be beautiful. They can be beautiful. And so that's what this piece means to me. And there's so much layers of meaning for me, but it's also about aging, because I'm aging. I didn't start doing art till I was 59. And so I just feel like it's important to recognize, particularly in this time of pandemic, that older people are not disposable. They have value, and they add complexion and thread of our lives. And so that's really important aspect for me. I know I'm probably being too preachy. Do you want to ask me anything?
Well, that was very helpful, and I mean, I know we can't all get together and have an opening, but while you were speaking, it just dawned on me what a neat experience this is, to hear your thought behind, you never get, it's hard to get that. Like, it's a rare experience to walk into a gallery and get the artist's thoughts behind the work. You get interpretations from art figures, you get interpretations from dealers, but to hear the art be so honest like you've been and tell us what's really going on, I think it's a pretty special experience. I appreciate it.
I did too, thank you. I did too.
The thing I will say about your work,
Okay.
if I didn't mean to interrupt, but the thing I will say that I didn't hear you mention is that these pieces, when I'm in here, they kind of work on you. They got like a little bit of a vibe coming off, like, I don't know if it's all the tea moments that are now, kind of encapsulated and put on the canvas, and I feel them a little bit. Like, there's the DNA of these different people that have enjoyed a cup of tea. Because I don't know if you guys know, but Anne, people send her tea bags from all over the world. So, the tea on the top, tea bag in the top left could be somebody she met while she was doing a residency in Ireland, and she met someone, gave her a card, and then they sent her tea bags a few months later. So I kind of feel like those people are in there, just a very small amount of them. When I'm alone in the gallery with the pieces, I feel a vibe. I definitely feel something coming off of them. They're alive a little bit.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And just to add to that is that I've been so amazed after I started using tea bags, and people resonated with them and then became a part of my tea bag project. They feel connected to something bigger, something beyond themselves, and to be in art and to be in something positive. So they actually dry the tea bags for 2 weeks. That's trouble. They mail them to me from wherever they are at their expense, and they don't know which piece their work is in, their tea bags are in, but they just love being a part of something that is this kind of art with the idea of peace. My motto is world peace, inner peace, one cup of tea at a time. And people love that whole idea of being a part of something. And I'm touched by that. And people actually come and bring me their tea bags that they've saved for a year. They want to see what's now. It is so touching, and really speaks of a sense of community and the sense of connection that we all seek, and even creativity. Even if you can't draw, you want to be, people want to be part of creating. So just by my being me, I touched into all that, and it's incredibly beautiful.
I think so. And that's what I think I'm feeling. I do have to point out, that, not to get off topic, but if you look at Anne's background where she's talking, there's a painting, I guess to her right, that backs up what I'm talking about. She nails it. It's a bunch of the painting behind you, Anne.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
you've got
okay.
these calligraphic marks. Yeah, you've got these calligraphic marks. You've got these dots. You've got texture. It's all very loose. But I bet you if you measured it using the, what is it, the golden mean or the Fibonacci sequence or whatever, you would see like you nailed it. You put all those dots exactly where they're supposed to be. You just have this natural talent for that. And anyway, just had to mention it.
Oh, thank you.
You're a master of the grid. Keep it up.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Anne.
Thank you for.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for all you're doing. You and Lisa both. Thank you.
Yeah, we're crazy. It's true, but good crazy. So Tracy, we're going to put you in the hot seat for a second.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm sorry I'm a little late, but I actually had the pleasure of being at the gallery and seeing the vibrancy of the show. And it's a big change from the previous show being that full of color. So I wish you could all see it in person, but this is a good secondary option and a great way to connect with the community.
You draw a lot from your reaction to current events. Your willingness that you want people to come together, you want peace, you want things to move in that direction. I think you make your art with that intention. This piece is called Alchemy, and you made it recently during COVID, right? It's kind of a reaction to the COVID. Is that correct?
Absolutely, Warren. Yeah, I would say as simplistically as I can express that it really is meant to depict a feeling of transformation. This has been a difficult year for all of us, and we're still going through challenging times. But fundamentally, at the root of my work, it's all about human potential. It's all about possibility. It's all about connecting into something that is much bigger than ourselves individually. And as much as I will try and oftentimes be more subdued with my color palette, I'm usually not successful. As you can see with these two paintings, there's a vibrancy and I would say something that's really important to me in my life, a joie de vivre, joy of life approach. And no matter how hard times get, it's about trying to be an optimist and trying to look at the positive aspects of the people I have the opportunity to converse with and be with in my life, and the societal vibe, if you will. I do try and connect to what the feeling is right now in my immediate surroundings, and also at a more aggregate level. And I really believe that going through challenging times now, there's hope and there's a lot of beauty and there's a lot of color. And that's what I'm trying to depict in my art, a balance of the light and dark and fluidity and grace that exists in our daily lives if we open our eyes and pay attention.
What I see is, I mean, I see that, but what really strikes me on this piece and many of your pieces is there's a lot going on. There's a lot of value contrast. You've got organic and geometric fighting. You've got direction happening a lot. There's a lot of elements, but it's all in concert and it doesn't seem busy. And I don't know how you do that. Because if I did that, if I tried what you're doing, it would just, people couldn't look at it. It would just be too much. And you've put all this in here. I mean, you've got these really round shapes, and then you've got this whole thing divided by almost a cross, which is just almost the opposite of the freedom of the round shapes. Black to white in value, which usually it doesn't work, but you've overlapped things and canceled, and it's like music. I mean, it's like perfect. It really, really works in concert. I don't know how you can manage that, and I see you do it many times in your work. So you somehow go wild, but yet make it organized and musically correct.
Well,
How does that work?
I appreciate it. I don't know that I can take full credit for sometimes what comes out on a canvas. I spend a lot of time, one, getting inspired by the natural elements, the beautiful colors, as we've all mentioned here in New Mexico. They show up in my work. I also spend a lot of time trying to set an intention for my work. Before I even start on a canvas, I will try and ground myself and set an intention. And I think what happens is the end result is about what needs to be voiced. And I like to think that there is something bigger working through me to try and put something on a canvas that perhaps needs to be said, that someone needs to see, that hopefully inspires people. And it's oftentimes bright colors and interconnected shapes. And, you know, I think that it depicts hopefully how we exist in the world, all of us.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times when I hear or see bright colors and interconnected shapes, I'm out on that deal. But your work really speaks to me. I mean, it's just, the color is not correct the way we're seeing it on the monitor. It's a lot more kind of ochre toned. I guess there's kind of this ochre through line through the whole piece that's not really showing up. It looks a little bit blue on the monitor for me. Maybe that's, I don't know how you're doing it, but you're keeping it together. It's like, again, it's one of those deals where if I moved one thing, an inch, if I took out a scribble, I'd ruin it. Like everything belongs there. So,
well, I like to think
congratulations.
a bit of organized chaos, and I'll leave you with one thought, everybody, is that I try and end up with one piece of light, if not more, that we can all stay focused on in our lives, is the balance of light and darkness, because it all plays a role. But to stay focused on the light.
Yeah. All righty.
Thank you.
I'm wondering, let me see, is Barry, let's see if, okay, Barry is not here. Well, I will just show you Barry's work real quick. You know, a lot of people come into the gallery immediately drawn to Barry's work, but they're not sure what they're looking at. They ask me, oh, is this painted on glass? This is one of my favorites. I love this piece of Barry's. They, oh, is this paint on glass? And it is not paint. It is, in fact, I'm gonna try to talk to camera for a second. It's not paint. It is, in fact, all glass. It's all fused glass. So Barry invented a process here about 12 or so years ago where she started using this powdered glass. Nobody wants to look at me. Started using this powdered glass. And, you know, there's a lot of problems with even working with this stuff. It doesn't look the right color. It's really hard. She has to use all kinds of tools, sculpting tools and makeup brushes to actually form an image. It's actually 4 different layers of glass. So she works from back to front. She's got to visualize this image with the wrong colors on 3 different planes. And the whole thing takes 300 hours to fire. So I don't know how she gets to the point where she's created this beautiful landscape with all those difficulties, but she has, and her work is very popular. People do want to know how it's done. So, you know, at Vivo, we pride ourselves on knowing what, you know, techniques and materials of the artist. And we pride ourselves on being able to educate. We're not just here. In fact, we're not really trying to sell people. We really just want to educate them. I'm going to try to find another bit. Educate them and give them the freedom to accept art as something valid, because a lot of people think it's too extravagant. And really, it's a very important thing to have in your life. So I'm trying to remember. Oh, I guess I could talk about my work for a second. This is kind of atypical. Usually I do paintings of people walking from above, but I have been experimenting. I went on a little trip with my family to the river the end of the summer. It was kind of our last hurrah, if you would. We went to the Rio Grande, which is so great because it's, you know, you can just go there, like no reservation, just park, get in the river. Within 5 minutes, you know, you're floating. So I've used different techniques to capture people. I'm getting a cool split screen weirdness. I use iPads and video cameras. I sneak around. In this case, I used the drone on the Rio Grande with my daughter and my wife and us kind of hanging out. And about a minute or two into filming them in their floats, the battery fell out and the whole thing went into the Rio Grande. And my daughter snatched it up. We threw it in a bag of rice and it was good to go like a week later. But it was just this weird thing where we're all just, oh, this is great. Oh, and then boom, the thing just falls out of the sky. Yeah, I mean, my work, I try to make a figurative painting that also has validity as a contemporary, you know, piece of art. It's not just about the figure. It's not just about, you know, rendering things, but it also, the way I design it, the marks I make, I try to, you know, make figurative painting relative in a contemporary context. I was often, you know, I went to art school in the late 80s and everybody was telling me I should be an abstract painter or I probably should be an abstract painter or, you know, a conceptual artist. No one wanted me to paint narrative things or figures or anything like that. And I just stuck it out. And 35 years later, it seems like it's okay. People seem to gravitate towards it. And figurative painting is much more popular than it was in the 80s. But yeah, so we'll run the walkthrough one more time. So you can kind of see, for those of you that haven't, kind of see the way it's set up. We have a little walkthrough video. So if anybody has anything they'd like to know, any questions they want answered, feel free to either, I think you can speak, jump in the chat, or ask me, I'll try to answer. Norma couldn't be with us tonight, but these are really neat pieces.
She was in for 1 minute. She popped in, but I think she had an unstable connection.
I don't know if you're familiar with, oh, thank you, Maria. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Diebenhorn, probably definitely familiar with de Kooning, but Norma's work really reminds me of Diebenhorn, almost kind of better than Diebenhorn because it's a little more abstract. I like the way she handles color. I mean, I love Diebenhorn. I don't want to diss him, but Norma's really, she's an outstanding, I think she's originally from California, so I'm going to call her an outstanding 21st century California painter, even though she's a Santa Fean now, as we all are. And there's Anne's beautiful tea bag. I mean, these, you know, kind of have to be experienced in person. You get a gist of them from the video. If you've never seen Lorinda's work in person, she's fairly new to the gallery. It's really neat. Her color control is so good that you really kind of got to get in front of them to see the vibrations happen. Nina. Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to tell you that that's one of my favorite pieces of all time right there. And there's Ilsa finishing up the hanging, got her mask on, doing the right thing. So we will, I haven't done it yet, but some point over the weekend, I'll make a little, on our website, I'll put up a kind of a virtual show. I just wanted to just prepare for the opening first, but I'll do a little virtual show so you can go to our website and look at all the pieces that are in the new show. You know, I have to say, people have been very, very supportive. We're almost, I mean, we hate to look a gift horse in the mouth or, you know, question success, but we've had a really, you know, a lot of good people coming in, buying a lot of art. And actually, it's not a lot of people coming in. It's only a few people coming in, but they all are buying art. And it's, you know, put us in a much better position. We were in a pretty good position thanks to Ilsa, who runs our finances. She kept us safe during the COVID. But we've had a great few months, and we really appreciate it. We really feel like the support, you know, like a lot of the sales are happening because people went, okay, I've been thinking about it. The arts need support. I'm jumping in. I'm going to do it. And so we've been lucky, and we're trying to help other people. We're involved in the community. We're trying to keep the street alive, you know. I mean, it will stay alive, but we're doing everything we can. We share ideas and knowledge and skills with other galleries. We're not, you know, we're community-based because we're a collective. So we're going to do everything we can, the 9 of us, to make sure when this is over and you go down Canyon Road, of course, we'll still be here, no question, but there'll also be a vibrant scene happening around us. It won't be just a bunch of boarded up storefronts. So we're all dedicated to that mission, and we you know, volunteer our time to help other galleries in the community at large. So anyway, I don't know, not to toot our horn. We have these events because we know people miss them. That's why we're doing all this. That's why we're having the Zooms and stuff. I mean, I know it's not the same, but you know, it's something. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know, a lot of that, I'm on the Gallery Association board and stuff, the Santa Fe Gallery Association. A lot of the galleries, you know, their biggest pursuit are the walk-ins. They don't even think about like building a local community. And we really focus on that. We want, you know, people that come here to have something to do at night when things are closed. We usually have like a thing, obviously we're not doing that now, but we have these after hours things from 5 to 7 on Fridays, usually once or twice a month. And it's just a way for the local community to meet other artists and, you know, hear these talks and whatnot. We don't just serve the walk-ins. I mean, we appreciate it. We know we're in Santa Fe, but we also, you know, try to serve the community. I mean, when someone comes in and says, what's that rectangle on Gary's work? Or, you know, how many hours does it take to do the kiln glass? If I don't have an answer, I feel terrible.
Right.
Like, I want to have those answers for people. That's why I'm here. You want to say something, Gary?
Thank you, Warren, for hosting this. You've done a wonderful job.
Yes. Warren.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Lisa.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us tonight.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a labor of love, you know, coming here doing this. We're also, Michael and Jennifer, you probably don't know, but another thing we're doing at the gallery just because of the COVID and people are just hungry for it is we've installed this big slideshow outside that we project from inside. So when it goes dark and there are people walking around, because there's actually a lot of people on bicycles and stuff just trying to fill their time. We have like a little exhibit outside that's totally safe. You can see it from your car. Don't have to come in. And people have reacted very positively. It was up like for 2 or 3 days, and all of a sudden I started getting calls. It's like, hey, I just happened to pass by at night and there's this big art show going on. So we're doing that. We're doing everything we can to kind of keep it alive, you know, while the doors are shut. Let me see. I'm gonna try to show it to you guys. I'm gonna open the door. Hopefully there's not a rush. All right, I'm gonna shut out the lights.
Trying to get that thing.
I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. It's all good. You don't have to do anything. So outside, so there, of course, you know, as Geronimo, people sit outside and eat. So while they're waiting, sorry, it's going to be shaky for a second. While they're waiting, oh, perfect, it's on Gary. We have a little slideshow outside so people can see the art. kind of hard to see. It doesn't reproduce on a screen as well as it looks outside. But it's a neat little thing. And I see people just riding their bike and they'll just stop by and they'll watch a few frames or whatever, 24/7. Oh, it's cold out here, people. Got cold.
Warren, while you're out there, would you call the attention to our new sculptors?
Oh, that's a good idea. I'm freezing, but I'll do it.
Yep, while you're out there.
This is one of our new sculptors. We're always trying to find just the right, like this is a sculptor that's been with us for many years. He's very accomplished. Brian, right? Brad, right. He's got a piece at Arlington National. It's hard to see at night. Oh, this is not reproducing very well. But these pieces are a new sculptor that we just took in. And they're these kind of like monolithic, it's not really showing up. There's like glass, mosaic, stainless steel kind of elements. They're pretty neat. They're good price. He uses glass. Maybe these are a little better lit. Really hard to see, but he's got the kind of glass, metal, mosaic kind of working all together. This is a cool piece. It's got like this little hollow spot. So they're fairly tall, thin pieces. It's another one of Brad's pieces. I'm going back in the warm. Yeah.
It's 6:20.
So back inside, I guess we can give you a little quick tour downstairs. You haven't been in a couple of years. We got kind of the wall, this stairway wall. This is going to be me, hopefully not falling downstairs. Got this beautiful Oakley kind of greets you as you come downstairs. Here's a little preview. We're doing a little small work show. This is some of my pieces that are 6 inches that I'll probably have for the small works. So downstairs is kind of, for those of you who don't know, it's kind of like more of a standing collection of representative pieces from each of the 9 Vivo artists. There's another one, kind of a glow-like Lorinda piece. I like that one. I just love how closely, look at the way she builds the form, very subtly, but very effectively. Excuse me. Ooh. Here's another one of Barry's pieces. I don't remember even seeing this one from Tracy. I think this is a pretty new piece. She has a good talent for putting a lot of disparate elements together and making them work as a team. It's one of Ilsa's pieces. Whoops. Yeah. This one is pretty amazing. It's got, is that tamarisk? Yeah. Look at that. This stuff, you start looking at Ilsa's piece and you can just kind of get lost. You just kind of go into that world and all those little details. For me personally, I get kind of lost. Here's a shiny, sparkly Gary Oakley. It's got some, he's used some kind of iridescent kind of gold to make the kind of sunlight. It's like the strip of sunlight hitting that hill. Another one. That's a good one. Gratitude. Here's one of Anne's pieces, a little newer piece, a little bit different than her usual work. But still making the music with the grid. Here's one of my pieces. This is a guy walking his dog in Pueblo, Colorado. A photograph from a bridge. It's a guy riding his bike in Santa Monica. A guy in Paris under an umbrella. Here's a nice trio of Norma's work. I mean, those are really, I love them. Are you guys familiar with the California painter Richard Diebenhorn? He was it's kind of a similar deal. He didn't use as bright colors as these, but he's passed on. But he was a very famous abstract painter, kind of biggest like from the 50s to the 70s. Oh, look at this. Oh my goodness. See, this is where Ilse, I don't have the knowledge to understand all of your work. The 3 dimensions kind of lose me a little bit. I can appreciate them. I love them. I've seen, you do the demo where you put the wet paper over the tree and make the texture of the bark, which I love that. Here's one of Anne's pieces with tea bags, but very subtly. They're very subtle, the tea bags in these. Those are newer ones. And then from that same kind of series from the one earlier. Trying not to, more Nina Glazer. Nina's one of my favorites. I just think it's so neat the way she has this imagery that would make me look away, but she's so beautifully done. I just want to keep looking. And this one, it's got like a 3D, it's like a woman in a nest, and the nest pops off the canvas. I mean, it's crazy. I love it. And then this one, it's almost like a Japanese wood block. The way she's created this, it's almost like a, MC Escher. Does anybody remember Escher? It's almost like that kind of situation with the water going to the sky. There's some natural skill. This is Tracy's work, of course. She's putting these elements together, and it would just be so awful if I tried that. And she does it so well. And then Lorinda's, riding that edge between the abstract and the figurative, between, the natural and the designed. She does really good stuff with her tops and bottoms. Like this one, this painting really drives me nuts because it's hard to see, it's got some glare, but it's got this kind of covering of foliage, kind of making the top, and then leaves on the ground, maybe making the bottom. So it creates this beautiful design with the limbs in the middle and everything, so color keyed. And that, the things on top of other things just, being pushed back and forth. I'm on top, no, I'm on top. I love that. I love when the elements fight, but it's a good fight. Sometimes the elements fight and it's a bad fight. You did a good fight, Lorinda.
Thank you.
And then this is Norma's work. I'm sorry Norma couldn't be with us tonight. She's always got some good stuff to say. She thinks very much about when she's working, about what she's doing. I think she's had a lot of training. And then another Oakley. And then have you guys been here? We have this thing where we show the videos now of the artists. It's part of our kind of stress on education. So you can come downstairs, take a break, and watch videos about process and whatnot. Yeah. There's Gary talking about his work. We built another little area to put paintings because people come in, they want to look at several paintings. We have to pull them out of inventory before they can decide. These are 2 little jewels. Look at these, Lorinda's a little bit different. Like, I don't know if I would have called it that this was hers, because she definitely investigates different forms, but I love these they're just like little jewels. 8 inch by 8 inch, just really neat little. pieces. And then a nice Tracy King to end the room. So yeah, and then some little stuff. So we're doing what we call a collection starter show in the beginning of December, where we have some lower priced, smaller works for people. Oh yeah, and let's talk about, since we're here, the Ann Laser, who does the tea bag pieces, she also has created garments. She has a designer who's over there, who's my wife. But anyway, so they've used her art and they've created these garments in silk and modal, wool. So you guys, did they have that when you came to that event two years ago? Did they have the fashion then or no?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so you know, yeah. This is a cool one with all the tea bags.
Yeah, I looked at that. Yes. This piece is hanging on the wall.
Oh yeah, that's from the piece on the wall. That's funny. Yeah, run the video. I think I can log in from this other computer. Thank y'all for coming. Good night, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.